Nobody's listening, right?
Hi, Andy.
Hello.
I'm cold.
Yeah, you are cold.
Is anybody listening?
Oh my gosh, yes they are. Jose, maybe I'm saying that right. Been listening since 2014. So glad
Wow.
they're back. Then we got one from Amy Cush. Have been listening since Totally Married and Totally Mommy, and so glad to have you both back. Love listening every week. You make me laugh so hard on the podcast and again in the Instagram videos. Let's see. This one's from Cheer Boo. Totes. Still listening. Still a highlight of my week.
Aw.
I've always related to Elizabeth and Andy as a couple, and it feels like listening to old friends. So happy to hear from them, those two, every week. Let me do one more. Listening from Switzerland.
Yeah.
We need to make like an international map, maybe.
I
and
would
start.
love an international map.
From the French-speaking region of Switzerland.
Wow, wow, wow.
And Elizabeth, I share the same weird fantasies as you.
Wow. The specific ones?
When I first heard you talk about it, I was so relieved to hear someone else shares it and doesn't laugh with their in real life attraction.
I'm wondering what element, because if this person has a sex club Griswold's specific fantasy.
Yeah,
then
Bill
I'm
Murray's
like,
brother.
I obviously need to meet this person because there's some, but if it's just kind of like, I don't know what element, please follow up. Maybe send me a DM on Instagram at Nobody's Listening Right.
All right. Man, there's a bunch, but this one's catching my eye. We got to do this one. 10 years in, just getting better. I started listening to Elizabeth and Andy when I was a newly licensed 16-year-old.
Wow.
Now I'm 26-year-old high school teacher.
Oh.
Still comforted by their infectious laughter on the drive to work. While they say their podcast is about nothing, it's actually about everything.
Nice reading. Dramatic reading.
From their raw, honest thoughts about death and religion to the hilarious rants about off-leash dogs and couch decisions, there is something for everyone here. Transparency is all you get here. In a world of filters, Photoshop, and scripted content, Andy and Elizabeth are continually a breath of fresh air. Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week. Here's hoping you guys beat out Eckhart Tolle's.
Thank you.
P.S. While everybody writes that they found nobody listening through patron St. Monica, I actually found out about Armchair Expert through Nobody's Listening.
Oh,
We're
well,
returning the favor.
We are. Listen, Monica, if you're listening, I believe you are. Hi. And you're so welcome that we've sent a listener your way. I'm just kidding, obviously. That is amazing. What a great review.
Amazing. One last one from Melanie from Belgium. Belgium is listening. Love this podcast. Elizabeth and Andy always make me laugh. Proud that Belgium is now known for anything other than waffles go Stromae. Love it.
Wow.
So,
I'd like to go to Belgium.
I really would like to go to Belgium. I'd
and
like to
just
go to
eat so much chocolate.
and
drink
French
coffee.
fries.
They're, as you pointed out last night at dinner, they're Belgian fries.
Pommes frites.
No, you're still in the French.
What would I wonder what they're called in Belgium?
Belgian fries.
No, but what are they? They're probably something more like pommes frites or something like that.
Oh, just fries?
Well, just whatever they are in the language there.
Right.
Are you not getting this?
But are you not getting it? By the way, we had this whole conversation last night because we were explaining to our kids that fries are called chips in the UK and chips are called crisps, which is a hard thing to wrap your head around.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in Vancouver last week, I walked by a Belgian fry place, which there was one in New York I used to love. And I was going to meet someone for dinner in Vancouver. Otherwise, I 100% would have stopped and gotten them. But I'm like, I wish LA had a place like that. I don't know of it if it exists, but
I bet someone's doing it. The thing I remember when we lived in New York, that place, it's in the East Village. There's people screaming right now what it is because it is pretty popular. It's like the first time you go there, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And then you go back a few times. But the only problem is like, if my memory serves, what is it? Is it called pommes frites?
it is.
It's just called pommes frites.
The place in New York is called Pomfret's.
And is it on First Avenue?
It's on McDougal Street.
Oh, no, this is a different spot. This is on one of the avenues.
Okay, this is in East Village.
East Village, Belgian. Put in East Village, Belgian fry
it's
place.
just called Belgian fries.
No.
Oh, Bua?
That's okay. Anyways,
but that's... Pomfret's used to be in the East Village, and now it's closed. It was called Pomfret's.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't go the distance?
Well, listen.
How long of a run? It had a big, long run.
We've been gone for 15 years, Andy.
I know, but it was quite a staple in that little neighborhood. Anyways, the only problem is, like, I feel like they didn't have anything but the fries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a hard thing. Like, is that your meal? It's really like, all I'm saying is I wish they had something else to go with
man, like those late nights in the East Village when we would go out and be drunk and going home and getting those, like, and they serve them in the cone of paper. Oh, what a life.
I want to talk about a quick thing about your fantasy, because that reviewer got me thinking. We've been watching Bake Off, Great British Bake Off, as we do. No spoilers here, but this season just wrapped, and what a great season. Is Paul Hollywood too attractive for you to be in one of your fantasies? Because I feel like in many ways he does wield authority, power, but he's also quite attractive. So it just dawned on me the other night. I was like, would he ever show up, or is he kicked out because he's too good looking?
I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
He's shown up.
He has.
And it didn't do anything for me.
It didn't.
I had to recast him.
Can you tell me how he showed up? Give it to me. Do you remember?
No, I don't like to. I don't want to.
Please. Please tell me.
I really don't want to.
Please tell me.
No.
I need to know how Paul Hollywood showed up in your fantasies.
Okay.
For those that don't know, he is the on the Great British Bake Off, he is the, I hate to even say this, but he is like the Simon Cowell of the judges, which doesn't even do it justice, but he is a little stern. Okay. Yeah. Are you laughing because you recast him with Simon Cowell? That would be really funny.
No.
But he is a little stern, but the show in general is so sweet. But there's also this trope in the show that every once in a while, if you do really well, he just gives you a handshake. And oh boy, if you get a handshake, it is like a gift from God.
He's like the withholding father. Now, it's very funny because he carries this authority on the show, and he deserves it and stuff. But Prue, his co-host, who's this older, regal, colorful woman.
Yeah.
She has so much more experience. And so much more, like, her pedigree is so much higher.
People should be giving way more of a shit of what she says than what Paul says.
It kind of goes to the psychology of, like, withholding, though, because she's more kind of just across the board friendly and whatever, but because Paul Hollywood's such a critical judge that when he does give you the stamp of approval, it's like even more meaningful than Prue, who's like way more accomplished.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. He's also very attractive. He has like very piercing blue eyes.
Yeah, now I can see why he's attractive. So the fantasy, this is going to get all sorts of...
He's also probably late 50s, 60s, maybe even?
50s, I think.
Okay.
This was a fantasy like a couple seasons ago.
Okay.
I feel like I'm about to make a huge mistake. I might need you to edit this out.
Really?
But
you are such a freak, and I love it. Let me hear this.
No.
Let me hear this.
It was that there was a contestant who wanted to do better.
Okay.
And, you know,
female or male?
Female. They go off they're out of the tent. They go back to what I imagine was kind of like a dormitory situation.
Totally.
And
I think it's more of like a hotel, but same difference.
He's wielding his power, you know, like if you want to do well in this competition type thing. But without saying it,
like
it's more
subtly, it's more like
it's subtle. And the female contestant is all on board. It's not that he's like
taking advantage,
being disgusting. It's more just like it's an understanding.
Yeah.
But then it didn't. He literally left the room. Like I had him leave, and then the female contestant was still not satisfied.
Yeah. Had they started hooking up?
Yeah.
and then and then he was she not satisfied? Okay, hold on. And I think I got this.
You're not going to believe.
No.
Okay.
I think I got this. Okay. It wasn't that she wasn't going to get off.
Yeah.
She did like the scenario, but you as the director had to be like, you weren't going to get off, so you took him out of the equation. What was her in the story? How did you wrap it around for her? What was the justification to her? Did she just leave, or did you just snatch him out, sort of?
I think he felt too bad, like this was a mistake and he's not doing the right thing, that he's crossing a boundary.
So then she's all by herself, maybe touching herself, I don't know. And then what happens? Someone else comes in, you recast, or did she finish herself off?
Someone else came in and you're not going to like who it was.
Oh, I think I am going to like who it was. It's not the blonde guy that works at La Mill, is it?
No, it was still all. Listen, it was all in the context
the world.
Of
you
the
keep
show.
it in the world. I respect that. Okay, so who came in?
Jürgen.
Jesus Christ! All right, for everyone out there, just Google
I don't want to
Jürgen.
talk about my.
And listen, I promise you, I'm not even going to make. We make funny videos for Instagram. I'm not going to do this because it's not. I mean, I guess it is nice to Jürgen, sort of, but it's too complicated. I don't want this out there for you. And I understand.
Oh, no.
I understand. But anyway, so Jürgen comes in.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Really want to finish this. How does he give it to her?
My threshold.
How does he give it to her?
No. I
need to know.
No.
Is there a position or what happens?
Everything's just fine. It's just
What
normal.
position are they in?
I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Does Jürgen have a huge gherkin? I need to know how big his member was in your mind.
It wasn't. It's always, everything's always pretty big in my mind, but.
How big? Everything's always pretty big.
Meaning it wasn't like exceptional.
It wasn't.
But a good gherkin.
Okay, good gherkin.
But I don't want to talk about it. I really am done. I'm done.
I love that.
I'm so
I apologize.
Done. I'd forgotten about this.
I apologize to everyone that hasn't seen this season with Jürgen, because it really does. Wow. And Jürgen was awesome. Did he win that year or no?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. He was great, though.
Okay.
What position were they in? That's what I want to know.
Just a regular position.
I don't think you're being honest with me.
I don't.
And is she like grossed out when she was just about to hook up with Paul Hollywood, who also like the thing about Paul Hollywood, he is in his like late 50s.
Andy.
But you would let me just put this out. Wait, I want to paint the picture for those that don't know the show. Listen, just you don't have to say anything. I'll finish your fantasy. The thing about Paul Hollywood is he is like late 50s. But, like, if you found out Paul Hollywood is dating, like, a model, which I'm sure he has, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I get it. He's just that kind of celebrity and, like, older, handsome guy. But if you heard that Jürgen was dating a model, you would be like, the world has turned upside down on itself. So just so everyone is clear, and I understand your fantasies pretty well, Paul was too attractive, too desirable. You needed to have him leave the room. And then you needed Jürgen to come in. And what did this contestant think? Was she off-put at first, but by the end of it was like, whoa, Jürgen?
No, she was... Oh, here
she
I am
was
talking
ready.
about.
She was ready for it.
She
because
was primed and ready, and he happened to be the warm body that walked in, and she had to convince him.
So he stumbled in on accident, and he doesn't want to?
Yeah. Anyway.
Now, what's interesting about this particular fantasy is there's a new power dynamic here, actually. The
Can you see how the power dynamic
had the power here. Because you...
Yeah.
Oh, actually, not really, because she was a little bummed that Paul left, wasn't she?
No.
But you, as the director, wanted Paul to leave, but not necessarily her in the fantasy.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, yes, I guess that's a good point.
This is so tough for me because you're such a freak, and yet I don't know how to harness it. You know what I mean? For my own joy. Do you know what I mean? For my own benefit. I can't quite figure out the angle. Okay. Well.
By the way, you being like, what was the position? That is so meaningless to me.
I don't think it is in some of yours. I would imagine, like, because I'm like, if Jürgen's coming in, like, okay. Anyways, all right.
Okay. So.
Jeez.
I have an update. Major update I've been sitting on. I haven't talked to you about this. As you might recall, last week, I kind of went on a bit of a spiral about ballerina farms. Hannah.
Yeah,
Dan.
I'm sorry. I'm just stuck.
Please.
It's just so...
Please move on. Please move on.
Okay, Ballerina Farms. You got me. Yes, Ballerina Farms, the Utah ex-ballerina from New York. They are living the life. Gorgeous couple, gorgeous family, cooking amazing meals.
All from scratch. Like
All
when
from
she
scratch.
When she makes a cheesecake, she's baking those graham crackers.
She's milking the cow.
Gonna pulverize. She milks the cow that makes the cream cheese. Like, it is next level. She has 7 children.
Okay.
Now, the thing that sent me, because I don't look at something like that and go, ooh, I wish I looked like that and whatever. Like, I'm so far past that being the realm of reality. But what did send me over the edge was, in one of her videos, there was this very innocent kind of shot of her kids when the camera was moving past their great big farm table where all the kids are at work helping to make this meal. And I'm like, my kids don't put away their goddamn pens after, whatever. It's something we're working on. By the way, and I say that more for effect. We have amazing kids who are so kind and could do a little bit better job helping out around the house. But this morning, Otis mopped.
Yep.
So we're on our way. But more than that, just like the way I'm like looking at the meal that this woman makes to make like a pesto mozzarella sandwich. I'm like, that would take 2 full days of my life.
Sounds good though.
There's no world where it wouldn't end in all of us in tears. Like the way she's making it, making the mozzarella from scratch, making the, whatever.
Bread?
Baking the bread.
Oh, fuck.
Picking the tomatoes, roasting it's all, and it's all done in this oven that looks like it's an old fashioned oven, but the veil has been pulled. I can see clearly now. There is something not hitting right watching these videos. And part of it was, this is part of my spiral, being like, how is this woman doing this? Like, how does she make it look like this? Like, why? I can't even get my kids to pick up a pen. Like, that sort of spiral thing. Like, am I doing a disservice to my kids? Like, should we be living on a farm? But even if we did, I know that I would just be like a haggard, like crazy woman. I wouldn't be like this woman doing ballet in the mornings with the fire going like. And then you joked about what was your version of the dream, and my version is what we are building, which is our cabin where we go sledding and we play video games. But there's something about this, like, and I have to call it out, very white woman, like going back to the earth fantasy.
Okay.
That is both so appealing to me and then also, when watching this, upsetting. And what I have learned from many of our listeners who alerted me to this, but also from a coworker who has a personal connection to these people, is that they come from insane wealth.
Oh, I assumed that.
You did?
Yeah.
Because it changes the narrative in such a profound way. And look, nothing against them. I have nothing against rich people. I hope to be sort of one at some point in time. We know very amazing rich people who are really generous of spirit, really generous with their wealth. Of course, there are really bad rich people. I do think people can be too rich. But in this case, and I guess the onus is not on them to qualify their lifestyle by saying, oh, by the way, we come from hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever it is. But it changes the message in such a major way. And then I read this article that many listeners sent to me, which I was very grateful for, that also on top of it is they're Mormon. And there's this pressure amongst Mormon women to be like publicly, showing how pure and magical and wholesome Mormonism is with their 7 kids. And of course, I'm 17 seasons deep into Sister Wives that set out to be. Now I know that the sister wife polygamy is like an extremist subset of Mormonism. I'm sure if we have Mormons listening, they're like, "That's not the same." But similarly, the Brown family set out to show how polygamy can be lived, and it's not all this like Warren Jeffs disgusting, rapey, whatever. It's this wholesome. Well, 17 seasons in, the wheels have come off the bus, and it is a fucking shit show. Their family is completely in chaos. And I do think that there is some, I guess when I was watching Ballerina Farms, I'm like, I know that families have their stuff and kids are crying sometimes and whatever, and we're not seeing all of that behind the scenes.
You're not seeing any of it.
But we are also not seeing is that they have all the money in the world to support them. I mean, it's like you see they don't have the weight on their shoulders of what normal American families who own a farm.
Yeah.
Their farm is not profitable. Like,
do you know that for a fact?
Yes. This article broke it down. What a farm, they sell their meat and they sell they at most are making 30 to 60 grand a year if they're lucky.
Really?
Yes. Given like the amount of land, and they bought this farm for almost $3 million.
Okay.
Now they listed it for sale for like $20 million a couple of years later.
Okay. Do they sell it?
It's not, I don't think so yet.
Okay.
But anyway, it just, nothing against them, but it did, I'm like, oh.
It's not as real as you thought it was.
None of it's really real.
They hadn't built this empire. Well, for me, what's interesting is I always assumed there was a lot of money involved, but...
Well, also, I want to say you come from something that this article talks about, which is people see that and are like, oh, we should live that way. And people with lots of money, I mean, people we know are like going to buy places in Montana and being like, now I live on a ranch in Montana. Or like, you know, the one person we know who's a billionaire did just that, like went and bought near Jackson Hole and is like, now I'm living like of the earth. But you're really not. And what I was going to say is you come from Sun Valley, Idaho, which is this little ski town pocket where you were in school with 20 classmates, most of whom came from substantial wealth.
I would say half came from crazy wealth.
And then you went to that school because your mom was a teacher. You were not from crazy wealth.
Yep.
So you kind of have a sense of it in a way that I don't.
I think that's true, yes and no, because also, and this also might be a sign of the times, when I lived there, I don't think there was, in the area we grew up in, specifically Sun Valley, Idaho, there's not like, it was more just like rich people living there in big houses and living that kind of ski lifestyle, where this to me is a much different thing, sort of. But I always assumed there was a lot of money involved here, and like you just being like, there's family money, that doesn't, I'm like, oh, same thing. But where it gets weird to me is that now you're telling me it is more of a like facade completely, like that the meat thing, the farming doesn't make money, like that they're not making any money. I'm like, oh, that's not as cool. I have less of a problem if like they came from money and they're like, well, what the fuck are we gonna do with our lives? Let's fucking have a sustainable farm with humanely raising these animals and
right,
all that stuff.
Which is, by the way, these people have the type of wealth where they could be like, they could have bought a mansion and just be living, that's why I'm saying, like, no shade to them. They do work like this woman, but I'm also like, how much of that is joy? It does seem joyful, honestly, to her in a way that I find almost like inconceivable, but also like, and how much of it is her playing the role of this good Mormon wife. And this article goes into like how rough Mormonism is on women specifically. Like literally the men are accepted into this priesthood of Mormonism at age 12 or 13, where they have this connection to God that women just don't. And women are expected to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I imagine that Hannah in the Mormon community is kind of this pillar of what to achieve, even though, again, this guy's dad was the CEO of JetBlue and owns 4 airlines.
No way.
And so to me, that's also the problem that this article points out. And I'll put a link to the article maybe in our link tree on Instagram at Nobody's Listening, right? Which is that wealthy people see this and are like, oh, this is the way to live. Like, yes, your children are wild and free, but meanwhile, I'm sure that they have childcare behind the scenes that you're not seeing on camera and all of this stuff. Then wealthy people are going to buy up this land that is needed for food production. The families that then own land who do not have CEOs of JetBlue in their family cannot keep up with the Joneses.
Right.
And then, like, this is part of why, like, the whole food production system in the United States is.
Does it talk about that in this article?
Yes, it goes into depth. It's really interesting. And also just, like, the performance aspect of it. And the article similarly is like, I'm not out to hate these people because there's nothing to hate. Like, they're living their life. But the way I spiraled about it last week, knowing, even alone, just knowing that they come from extreme wealth, they're not really living off the land. Like, it is, if that was without the backing of extreme wealth, she's not spending 8 hours a day making mozzarella pesto sandwiches because they are barely able to make ends meet. Like, it is not a picture of reality. Having said that, there's a bunch of stuff in their store I want to buy. And their prices are not out of control. There's like a wooden spoon set I want.
Well, they don't need to make a profit, so.
I guess that's right, which is good for them because I do think that they could sell this spoon set for like 4 times more than it is.
Are they just superstars in the Mormon community, do you think? Or do you think they get hate from the Mormon community at all? Like, are they too successful?
I don't know that exists there. I think that they're probably, I mean, maybe behind closed doors. I'm sure there's jealousy and stuff like that. But like, I'd imagine that they are just like shining examples of what Mormonism is. But the truth is, it's like not real. They don't have the burden of the reality of living, like, and making ends meet.
Don't you think a reality show is imminent? Don't you think they've talked to the networks?
Maybe.
I'd like to see that show.
I mean, I almost wonder, though, if a reality show would be too revealing.
Wow. Okay.
So, but when my coworker said, yeah, yeah, I sure do. Because, I'm like, I live in reality. And this is the other thing is what I want to say is when I started this off by saying nothing against rich people have problems too. And in some ways, I mean, we're watching White Lotus, like the Jennifer Coolidge character, the richest main character in this show seemingly has the most problems because sometimes I feel like rich people's problems feel so much bigger to them because I don't know why, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, money is really important up to a level. I mean, this has been studied. Once you have your basic needs met with money, your happiness doesn't like increase exponentially with money or anything. So I'm not trying to discount. But what I'm saying is on Ballerina Farms, you're not seeing any of the anything other than glory, the glory of living off the land, like raising wild and free and hardworking children, which is all great. But I'm like, when the reality of things, and then you peel back the layer further and they have this like flower business, and I'm looking at all this stuff and all these businesses they're running. Again, none of which are making them any real money. I mean, they're probably not breaking even. Maybe they're making money on Instagram ads or something, but I don't know. I'm like, there's so much more to the story than what we're seeing. Yeah. Which I think you could have told me last week, but for some reason with this specific account, I totally got duped.
Well, I just thought that when you're that big on Instagram and have that perfect looking of a thing, that like knowing that like it's all an exaggeration for the gram. You know what I mean? Like this is not real life. Nothing about it did I think was real at all, if that makes sense.
The things that like threw me for a loop were, first of all, just like the hours in the day that it would take me to do what this woman was doing. Mm-hmm. Now understanding that they have probably lots of childcare help and lots of stuff behind the scenes, but I was filling in the blanks thinking she's raising these 7 kids alone, like her husband's out like wrangling cows or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, like that she seemed so just like calm and joyful doing it, which maybe that's true.
Yeah.
With all that help. But without it, I was just like, I imagine putting myself in her shoes and I would look like a Kathy cartoon, like doing this, like, ah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that one swipe of the camera where her kids are all toiling away at the table, like really fucking messed with me. And then also she gave birth. And my birth, having gone through it twice and knowing what I was doing, like the sounds I was making, how like crazy I was getting through it. And she was like, oh, baby, you know, those things where I'm just like, I'm not good enough, which is stupid. Anyway, there's that. Oh, I have a question for you. Yeah. What?
I don't know.
I'm going 100 miles an hour, aren't I?
It's great. It's fine.
Okay. This was asked in our writer's room, and I found the responses so interesting.
Okay.
If some entity came to you and was like, you will have I will give you $50 million in exchange for the last year of your life.
Okay.
So whatever life you were going to live, which you can't know how long that is.
Okay.
Would you take it?
Take the 50 million. Huh. That's a real tricky question because I'm like, well, if I'm going to live into my 70s, 80s, whatever, and it's taking 1 year there, yeah, maybe I take the money because then I can I just don't have to worry about money and I can travel a bunch and I can like live life to the fullest. Mm-hmm. But if the catch is like, oh no, you take it and then you find out that you die 6 weeks from now, it's like, oh, then clearly like, why did I wouldn't have taken the money. I want to say, so that's a real tough one.
But then you could at least have ensured like financial security for generations to come.
I don't like that though, because history has showed us that those folks aren't that cool.
Well, case in point, what we were just talking about. Not that they're not cool. Obviously, they're the coolest. But I do think it was interesting because there were a lot of people in the room. There were people who were older who were like, yeah, I'd take it, give financial security. I get to like go do whatever I want to do. My thoughts are, well, first of all, knowing my genetic situation, I was like, hell no. The other thing is, what if that last year is when your like grandchild is born, or you're like, you just don't know what's coming. And I know I say this also, everyone, this question was posed to. I think there have been different years in my life where financial stress has been really more overwhelming, in which case I maybe would have a different answer. Right now, full disclosure, we're comfortable, so it doesn't feel like the same pressure. And I do think like something about money like that makes me worried that I would go off course of what I'm like meant to do or want to do. I love my career, and I think it would be so easy to be like, let's just go to France for 6 months and lose my way a little bit. And like, I actually mentioned you with your friends who many of the super wealthy kids that got a little lost in life. There's no like, I don't know what that is, but I wouldn't want that for my kids or grandkids either.
Yeah. I agree with you. Totally.
But it's an interesting question, and there's no wrong answer.
There really isn't.
Okay. What else?
You don't think you're like deviant, do you?
Do you?
Like
sexually? Is that what you mean?
I'm totally kidding.
Okay.
I just wanted a fun callback is all.
I don't know.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, speaking of happiness and all that stuff, I watched the new Jonah Hill documentary on Netflix, Stutz, about him and his therapist. And one of the interesting takeaways there is this
what's it called? Stutz?
Stutz, which is the guy's last name.
Oh.
But one of his things is like where most therapists like don't kind of give advice and whatnot. He was always like, I always wanted people to leave feeling like better and that there was stuff they could do, like action that they could take. So he like has come up with all these like tools for people and whatnot. But one of the things he was saying is so many people come to him and just feel lost and like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what choice, which I've definitely felt that way a lot in my life. And that resonated for me. But he was saying one of the things that you can do is just take care of your life force, which he was saying is like, mostly it's your body, then it's like connecting with people, and then it's yourself, and just like taking care of yourself.
Oh, interesting.
And that makes everybody feel better no matter what, right? Whether it's exercising or eating or just whatever it is, like taking care of things. And I was thinking about times where I have been taking care of my body more, and you're going to think this is like kind of crazy, but I was thinking when I like got into skating a couple years ago, or maybe it's like 3 years ago.
I don't think it was at the beginning of the pandemic.
Even, I guess, right before that. So like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Anyways, I was thinking...
and this is like you got back into it.
Yeah. But
something that was a passion of yours when you were little.
But it was a type of exercise for me that I was doing a few times a week that like I just don't exercise. But I was thinking, that time was very fruitful for me, life-wise and work-wise.
Interesting.
Like I have vivid memories of getting phone calls while I was like, and then I was thinking of another time. I was thinking about Stromae. There was a time where I was running, and I was thinking of Stromae because I used to listen to Stromae and go running, and that was also a very bountiful, creative time for me. But all of this is to say is that I was thinking about all of this, and this is like kind of silly, but I went skating with our daughter the other day, and then also went to, and I skated a little bit, and I was like, I got to do this more. There's something about it that makes me so happy.
Yes.
And there's something about the balance of it I think's good for your core, your body.
Sure.
And not that I need to be doing any tricks or anything, but I was like, there's something about this. And so, yeah, I've just been thinking about that in general, which I know is such a silly thing for a middle-aged man, but...
no, we do need to carve out the time. I love that life force thing. I was just talking to a medium for my other podcast.
Listen to us. I love it.
And she was talking about how, like, getting into the flow. And I'm, like, at a stage creatively where I know exactly what I need to do to get into the flow, which is one of three things. Go for a long drive by myself, listening to music. Go for a long walk, listening to music, or take a bath.
Nice.
Those are my three things. But I do think physical exercise is so... I love what you're saying about, like, I don't know, taking care of yourself creates bounty in other ways of your life.
Right. Yeah.
And also I wanted to say, I just read this book, How Not to Die, that I'm about to name drop, but Tig Notaro turned me on to, because after my back thing, I was like realizing I need to take health more seriously, and I want it to not be under the umbrella of what do I need to do to lose weight, because I'm trying to move past that.
Yeah.
And really, like, what do I need to do just to be the healthiest I can be, and also not be like dogmatic about it. And this book is really so eye-opening. And I'll give you the Cliff's Notes, which is just veggies, fruits, nuts, herbs, spices, and seeds are all very, very good for you. And you need to eat more of those things, which in turn makes you eat less of other things because you can only eat so much. And I'd say like a couple weeks ago, I really took that under, like, seriously. If you recall, I was making these really healthy lunches all the time and stuff. I can tell such a difference.
Oh, wow.
When I am really focused on eating well. And for me, eating well is like, this is a new definition of eating well. Because it used to be eating as little as I could was eating well. And now it's eating as much healthy stuff as I can.
Yeah.
It makes me feel so much better across the board.
Amazing.
I feel like you and I might be on the, like, entering a new era.
Maybe. I don't know.
You're like, I just want to skate, man. Don't bring me in. But I do want to bring you in.
You want to bring me in?
Yeah. I want to bring you in.
To your food world? Oh, I got you.
I
don't mind dabbling in your food world.
I think health and wellness across the board, a phrase that's been totally, like, exploited for other, like, for capitalism, but...
Grip it and rip it?
I really think, like, here are the things to me. The eating well, nutrition stuff that also that you like, not like eating stuff, you know, having to hold your nose and chug green juice or something. It should be stuff that you enjoy. Rest, getting rest.
Sleep is so important. Yes.
Sleep is so important. Do you know about this whole, like, rest as, what's it called? There's this Instagram account I follow that's all about, especially for Black women, like, this country has literally been built on the backs of Black women, and how rest is an act of protest. And, like, Black women, this idea of being, like, you know, tough and hard has been so used against them, and, like, they're not taking seriously in medical situations. Like, the death rate for Black women giving birth in this country is absolutely atrocious. Like, all of these things, and that it's like radical rest, especially for Black women. And then I'm also like, I think all of us who have been operating in service of capitalism, rest is important and overlooked. And there's almost this pride in, like, how little you sleep. Or
yeah, totally.
So that's one. I had a moment. I took the kids to the cabin yesterday, as you know, and we were watching Elf, and we were snuggled in bed. I had one kid on one side, like, both literally in the crooks of my arms.
Yeah.
And I felt so I could cry, like, so overwhelmed with joy and happiness, and, like, creating space for those moments.
Yeah.
Is really important. And also then creatively having time to get in the flow.
Yeah.
Those are the things.
That's great. I love it.
I have a question for you, because we've been watching Love is Blind.
Oh, yeah. I want to watch more of that. It's horrible.
It's like, I will say, going from the Great British Baking Show to Love is Blind feels like, it does feel like
gross.
Seedy. It feels
it
like.
It feels gross.
It gives me the same feeling of like talking about the purity that is Jürgen being in a sexual fantasy. Like there's something wrong about it. Mm-hmm. But what I will say is these yahoos on this show are saying I love you to each other, having sight unseen in seemingly like 3 days.
I think they get swept up in the premise of the show, you know, and that to actually get to see the person, you have to propose to them.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
They don't get to see. So I do think the show is egging them on in that way a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I think we haven't even gotten to the part though to see if then once they start pairing off and are going to, and I'm saying this in quotes, get married, and before what happens before the wedding, that's where I think it's going to get even more fun because we start seeing them meet each other's families and their real life, and then we see if the wheels come completely off the bus or if some of them go the distance, which in past seasons, some of them are still together. I'd say that everybody likes to point out.
I guess my question for you is, why did it take you 6 months to say I love you to me?
God, it's not even funny. You brought this up the other night watching this show.
I would love to know. Like, we've never talked about this.
Yes, we have.
No,
we've had
haven't.
this conversation like 20 times.
No. But we've never talked about it in, like, you've never given me a satisfying answer. Did you? Here's my question. Here are my multiple questions for you. Okay. For context for our listeners, Andy and I met. We had this whirlwind first night. Andy claims that he said to someone a few days after meeting me in New York, you know, re-meeting. We were middle school friends. I had a crush on him. Mm-hmm. You told Kaisa, I think, that you were going to marry me. Mm. We were together from that moment forward. Like,
yeah,
you had asked me to be your girlfriend, I think probably a month in or a couple weeks even.
No, definitely. No. You were kind of like, you were in the very beginning kind of friend zone-y vibes.
Okay.
And I think that plays in a little bit to why it took me a while.
Punished. So anyway, 6 months later, the effort that I had to go through to not say it to you because I'm a little bit old-fashioned and wanted it to be said first and didn't want to resent you, which was
well, that worked out for everybody.
Already building. Did you talk, like, you must have made the decision, I'm waiting 6 months, or were you just, like, what, did you talk to someone about saying it? Tell me everything.
I don't know. I have no recollection. I don't think I talked to anybody about when I wasn't going to say it. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. Maybe I just wanted to make sure this was the one because it did feel weighty, extra weighty and serious. I didn't want to just throw it around.
And did you feel like similar to Love is Blind, once you say I love you, you're going to have to propose right after that? Because you still waited 3.5 years. Now I say all of this, I was reminded last night how you lived when we first met. And
I think I played everything great. I know you have this resentment about how long it took for me to say I love you. I mean, you're still bringing it up 20 years later.
I just want to know why.
I don't have a reason.
You just weren't ready? You knew... Hang on, here's my question.
Yeah.
You knew that you were in love with me.
Yeah.
For a while.
I was smitten, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Smitten.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what about that moment then? Did it unlocked this?
This is what's so frustrating because, and just so our listeners know, you dangle this, it took you 6 months thing. It comes up at least twice a year for the last 20 years. But here's the thing. Even if I
actually like the last 19 and a half.
Even if I had a real reason at that time, I have no idea what that reason would have been. Like
was there some principle?
Like the idea that you are asking that that I could get back into my brain at that time and give you a real answer, I have no idea.
How many other gals had you said I love you to?
Let's see.
Had you said it to Miriam?
Probably.
And how fast into that relationship?
Should we call her and see if she remembers?
I want to know.
I have no idea. And to be honest, I have no idea if I said it. I probably did, but I don't know. I really don't know. Who else would I have said it to? College girlfriend, I think I said it to. I don't know. How many other people have you said it to?
2.
Gotcha. 2 other people?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're pretty close in that department.
And one of them, I didn't even know it, but I don't really think it was true.
So you were throwing it around. It sounds like both you and I might have been throwing it around, and then one of us figured, let's not throw this word around until we really, really mean it.
Here's my question for you. If one of our children was you...
If one of our children was me, okay.
So let's say you're playing your father.
Okay.
Back in that time, and you're like, this gal is great. I love her.
I'm the kid saying this to my dad.
Yeah, you're you 20 years ago, 19 and a half years ago or whatever. And you're going, oh, I'm so in love. I think she's the best. This is great. But I'm not going to say I love you for some inexplicable reason I can't access right now. Mm-hmm. What would you say to your son?
Well, my dad had told me to never say it too early, like to wait a little bit longer than you think. I don't know. This is absurd. I can't. I really...
I'm sorry, it's coming up because we're watching Love is Blind, and these people haven't even met each other, and they've literally had 2-hour-long conversations, and the guy is getting down on one knee and professing his undying, unfettered love for this woman, and I'm like, I know it took a lot of work on my part to not say it, and I think I was starting to, maybe you said it finally because I was starting to get a little like, I guess this isn't gonna take. But you know what it goes back to a little bit?
What does it go back to a little bit? Tell me.
Like love languages. Because I think words of affirmation are very important to me. In a way that maybe isn't as important to you.
Okay.
What's your love language? I think physical touch.
Physical touch. You know, Josh and I, JoJo, we did this on an episode of T-Bash. We did it. We interviewed each other, our love languages towards each other.
Well, that's nice. Why don't you and I do that?
We should do it. It's kind of a long quiz, but we should do it.
Where did you land with Josh?
We kind of landed in
Who brought this up?
Similar thing.
Who thought of this idea?
We both did.
Oh, at the same time?
No, it's you really don't listen to T-Bash, do you?
No. I don't.
Anyways, it's a great episode. It's the so that's a different podcast episode if anyone wants to check it out, where we finally talk about things other than beverages. Where was I going to say? Oh, our love languages were inconclusive because we had to do it like towards each other, sort of. And so we were like all across the board. Acts of service were a big one for us. But I think...
What would you say your love language is with me?
Physical? Mm-hmm. I already forget what the 6 different ones are.
Acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts. I got you a gift last week.
That was very sweet. I like that a lot. Here's the problem is I think, you know what? We should do it, you and I. I think it's a little bullshitty sort of because I think everybody kind of likes all this stuff, but you do, they will be weighted more in some areas. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say yours is probably words of affirmation. Mine's probably physical. I bet those are our tops.
I think you're right.
That'd be my guess. But we can do the test if you want. The problem is the test like reframes the same questions over and over and over,
that's annoying.
but slightly different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're like, I've already answered this fucking 1,000 times.
Right. We don't need to do it. I think we're good.
I think we're good. And I think what you need to let go of some, like you do
I've just never gotten any real answers.
but this is what's infuriating is.
Do you remember saying it to me?
I do remember because you've drilled into my memory since you remember exactly.
Well, tell me.
But it was at Kara's apartment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I remember
And I had
that.
been so sick I'd almost died.
Yes.
And finally, I guess when you thought I was slipping away.
I think, let's not say you'd almost died. I don't want people to really think you
no.
almost died.
But I think what I had, that's the sickest I've ever been.
After I said I love you, did you get way better? Was it a nice time to hear it?
Well, you waited until actually I was on the mend.
Well, I didn't want to lose you, you know.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's so frustrating to me is I can see how upset you are still about this, and it's an absurd thing to be upset about, and it's also an absurd thing to think that I would have an answer. Like I have no idea at this point.
But what if you had an idea?
I would tell you. I'm guessing that I'm was weirdly, I don't know, principled and wanted to wait longer. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
It all worked out. It really all worked out in a great way. I would say probably very early on, I really did feel like I was going to be with you for the duration.
For the duration. You just totally got stuck on your words. Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
You couldn't say for the rest of our lives?
The long haul.
Do you think it's for the rest of our lives?
Yeah, for sure.
And also, do you think it's beyond?
We've talked about this. I don't know yet. Maybe. It could be.
I think so. Okay. I think that's good. You didn't set the clock. I have no idea. It feels like we've been talking.
You know what's funny is
2
that
hours.
what's funny about is this going to be 20 years from now, you're going to remember that I didn't set the clock for this episode. I feel like you really hold on to things.
No. I want one other example.
Of stuff that you hold on to?
Yes.
You pull stuff out of your hat all the time that I'm like, how do you remember that? And why are you still thinking about that?
Like, what's an example?
Let me think. And this is
such a
I
thing.
I know. I feel like you're like, I gotcha. You can't think of something.
No.
But I don't remember the things. That's the problem.
Yeah, but this is such a thing. And this is my gift passing this along to our listeners. In our couples therapy, which I think is so helpful, is you don't say universal things. Like, you always hold on to things if you don't have an example. And if you can't remember it, then you don't get to say that.
Okay. You don't want to know what?
What?
I'll give you this win, but I think deep down you and I both know that you always remember.
I do have, I remember things. Yeah, I have a memory.
But I feel like you have them. I feel like you have a file on me of fuck ups that you can access at any given moment on a dime. Okay?
Remember when you kissed that girl?
That's a good one. But
just for context.
Yeah.
Andy didn't.
I actually don't want to talk
Andy
about this.
didn't cheat on me.
I didn't cheat on you, and I don't want to talk about this.
Wait, let me just say it, please. It's pretty funny. This is a good indication of, listen, this kind of brings it all together.
Okay.
Because this is during that 6-month window before you said I love you.
Okay.
It was a night out in New York where we might have gone and gotten Belgian fries from Pomfrites.
Yeah.
I had introduced you already to my like first layer of friends, but we were going out and this was like, you were meeting the like second or third layer. And there was this girl. You were pretty drunk. And I introduced you to, I don't even remember her name.
You don't?
No, this is Ashley. Mm-hmm. And you kissed her hello on the lips. Because you thought it would be funny. And everyone was just like, what the fuck? Anyway.
Somehow I still landed it.
Oh, we have fun.
Okay.
Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay.
I don't know why I find this very funny.
Anyways, I don't have that file on you.
You don't?
No. I really don't.
I don't have that file on me in regards to you either.
I think you do have that file on me.
No, I do have that file on you.
Yeah.
I don't have that file on me in regards to you. Does that make sense?
Oh, because you've done you never did anything wrong.
Not that I can think of.
And how does that feel?
That's probably not. I mean, I know that's not true, obviously, but you're actually illuminating a light on something.
What?
I don't think that's fair.
What part?
That I don't have a file on me.
So why do you keep saying it?
What? No, I'm saying I don't think it's fair that I have this file on you.
Oh, so you're going to burn the files?
Well, I can't.
I know you can't. That's
They're
the thing.
there.
That's what I'm talking
They
about.
exist.
You can't, and you
I have
feel the
backups.
need to pull them out from time to time.
Only when we're watching Love is Blind. And
It does seem like when we're watching reality TV, you pull out the files.
But a lot of times I pull it out also in a positive way. Most of the time, honestly.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, oh, remember when we blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And do you like how I smell? And
You know what's funny is, and then let's wrap this up soon because this is getting to become too much for me to take. I would say in general, I'm probably more emotionally needy from you, probably. And yet, when we're watching reality TV, you are much more needy and want validation for things that these dumb contestants bring up on these dumb love shows.
that's very true.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, I think it's a good time for reflection.
Mm-hmm. Because of Thanksgiving.
You know, I feel that like, what?
Because of Thanksgiving. Doesn't matter. Come on.
I feel that way. That reminds me of something, which I'll get to in a second, and then we'll wrap it up. Oh, and this is our Thanksgiving episode.
Yep. I was trying to tie that in.
Nice. I do feel that way, like at going to weddings, going to funerals, where I'm like, it's a good time, and apparently watching Love is Blind, where it's a good time to kind of take stock of where you're at. We watched Love is Blind, and the first thing that you said was, we are so lucky. Because watching the show, you're like, oh, they actually seem pretty compatible. Oh, wait. And then he's pouring his heart out to a wall. And basically the premise is that there's someone on the other side of the wall. They can't see each other, but they go on these dates. And he's pouring his heart out about some like childhood trauma. And she's doing jumping jacks and like eating chips and guac. Like not dialed in at all.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, God, people are wild.
People are wild. Yeah, yeah.
And I know that we are wild, but we are very compatible.
Yep.
Have our own compatible weird things.
Yeah.
So I do feel very grateful for that for you. What I was laughing about was Otis at school. They made a I'm thankful for thing. Did you read it? It's the turkey thing on the mantle.
No.
I was just like, oh, I hope there's anything remotely about family or
Yeah.
And it is very, climate change forward, but it's I am thankful for food.
Yeah.
I am thankful for water.
Nice.
And I am thankful for the earth.
Nice.
Very nice, but no
shout outs for us.
No special thanks to mom or dad or family or whatever, which is okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one of our nephews once, not a super religious family at all.
Okay.
It was parent teacher night, and they went to the school, and all the kids I'm thankful fors are up. They made a big I'm thankful for. There was my family, my blah blah blah, and it was Jesus. That kid's going places.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Well, listeners, we are thankful for you. We're especially thankful for our amazing Patreon supporters. You guys are amazing. And I know that we have so enjoyed doing our live Patreon, what are those called? Streams. Mm-hmm. More of those to come. And you guys can check us out there at patreon.com/totallylame for also access to our 1,300 plus back episodes of all of our podcasts. And if you can't or don't want to support us on Patreon, totally cool. You can still support us on Instagram at Nobody's Listening Right, or by leaving feedback and reviews, 5 stars preferable. Thank you very much.
Good night.